Listen on that cooling breeze. The birds singing in the swaying trees, yeah. Them are smashing in the crashing sea. It's the sounds of summer.
Hey guys, Dusty White here of D Inc. Thanks everybody for tuning in for this first episode. For the first episode, I kind of thought I'd take you around my hometown of Sweetwater, Texas. I moved back here about 6 years ago to go teach in a neighboring town of Roscoe. And Sweetwater's pretty small, it's about 10,000 people. Roscoe's even smaller, about 1,200 people. So I thought I'd kind of show you what I look for whenever I'm shooting in a small town or a rural environment. What kind of settings, what kind of locations. And on an off day, like what can you go shoot in the country in the middle of West Texas? Because if you don't know West Texas, we don't have a lot of landscapes. It's mostly just flatlands and mesquite. But I promise you, there is beauty and really cool things to go take pictures of out there if you just kind of look at stuff that you're not really used to looking at. So, again, thanks for tuning in, and let's go take a look around town and see what we can't find. So when I am driving around looking for spots to shoot at, especially here in a small town that doesn't have a lot of architecture, I'm having a look for kind of interesting colors and textures. Textures is kind of what I really like to look for. Unique, interesting textures, but also in a spot that's got like a unique vibe and good lighting, possibly also, because you can find some spots that look really cool, but the lighting isn't really that great. Now, this is one of my favorite spots to shoot at in town right here. Let's see here if I can get around. Go this way. So as I said, while we were driving around, whenever I'm in town, I kind of like to look for textures and just look for different types of paint and different types of backgrounds that may look worn, or you may just kind of typically drive past without even blinking about it. But if you look at it, it has a really unique look about it. Like that white house or that white warehouse that we drove past, or the red brick. Red brick always makes beautiful, beautiful backdrops. But now let's talk about kind of, if I was just going to go out into the country and look for something random to shoot, what am I looking for? Well, here in West Texas, we've got a lot of small little communities that are kind of scattered about, and they're all very, very old. One of my favorite things to do, and it's kind of macabre and dark, but one of my favorite things to do is go check out old cemeteries and take pictures of, like, find the oldest graves or really worn statues. You never know what you're going to find at a cemetery, or any old cemetery for that matter. So I like to look for that kind of stuff, go cemetery hunting. We've got probably 5 or 6 just within a 30-mile radius here of Sweetwater that I can think of off the top of my head. But let's say I don't want to be so macabre. I want to be a little bit more bright and lively. Sunsets. Sunsets is one of my favorite things to shoot. And here in West Texas and Texas in general, we are fortunate enough to have some beautiful, beautiful sunsets. And one thing that I always look for if I want to shoot a sunset, you never know if you're going to be able to shoot a sunset. Some sunsets aren't pretty, if you will. They don't have a lot of colors. I think that'd probably be a better way of putting it. One easy way of telling if the sunset's going to be a beautiful sunset is if there's clouds. Clouds are going to reflect that light and make a lot of different colors. And so if there's clouds rolling in, then I'm usually going to get my drone ready and take it up probably in the golden hour. You don't want to do it right at sunset. The colors are usually best about 40 minutes or so before sunset. Alright, so sunset is probably my favorite things to shoot. Another thing, whenever you're on the cemetery hunt, a lot of these rural cemeteries are on back roads, so you're going to have to turn off the highway and get on some back roads. Well, when you're on that back road, I guarantee if you look down, even here in West Texas, it's pretty much just mesquite trees and flat land and a lot of cactus. But there are some wildflowers out there, you know, depending on the season, you're going to be able to see some Indian paintbrushes or some blue bonnets or cactus even blooming. Blooming cactus is absolutely gorgeous, but if you just happen to stumble upon a wild flower field just in the middle of nowhere, I mean, it is just absolutely gorgeous. So I always like to take my camera with me, even whenever I'm going out to the folks. My folks live 20 miles outside of town, so anytime I take my camera, if I was going to work, which is an 8-mile drive, like I told you, I'm always taking my camera somewhere, because you never know what you're going to see. So, you know, living in the country, it can be kind of challenging finding things to shoot, but like I said, if you look at, go cemetery hunting, or sunsets are always gorgeous to take pictures of, or sunrises. Now, sunrises can be a little bit more difficult to be able to predict if it's going to be beautiful, you know, as far as colors go and stuff like that. But it's the same concept. You've got the blue hour right before sunset and the blue hour right after, or the blue hour right before sunrise and right after sunset. And usually in that blue hour before sunrise, you can see the clouds forming, so you can tell if there's going to be some color in that sunrise or not. But also just look to nature. You know, nature has a lot of beautiful things to offer, even if you don't see it. Try looking at things from a different angle or perspective. You know, even here in my backyard. I'll grab the camera now and we'll just move it. Sometimes if you just zoom in, that didn't work with this lens. I got the wrong lens on here for what I was trying to show you. Just finding things in nature, you know, to film is one of my favorite things. Get yourself a nice macro lens. I've got a, what is my macro? I believe my macro is a 100mm macro, but I don't know. Find your macro and do some insect photography here. Get some close-ups on some flowers and stuff like that, you know. Change out different lenses and challenge yourself. Get different equipment and challenge yourself if you can afford it. Well guys, thanks for tuning in tonight for the first episode and beginning this journey with me. Had you told me a year or two ago that I'd be quitting my job as a teacher to become a full-time photographer and videographer, and also be moving to Missouri from Texas, I'd have told you were probably crazy. But over the last few years, the passion of photography just continued to grow and grow. And it was a very hard decision because I love my kids and I love teaching. Before I made my decision, I went and talked to a coworker who was also a teacher of mine back in middle school, and she gave me some of the most prolific and poetic advice and insight that I've ever received. And that's what I'll leave you with tonight. She told me that we tend to stay at our jobs because we get comfy in our box. And whenever we get comfy in our box, we tend to get complacent. And we can still do some great things within our box. But there's one thing that you can't do in a box, and that's continue to grow. You can only grow so much in a box. And eventually, if you want to continue to grow, you're going to have to step outside that box. And so that's what this journey's about. This journey's about stepping outside this box and betting on myself and kind of seeing where this goes. So I thank you for tuning in and joining me on this journey. And I don't know what this channel is going to entail, what the future holds for this. Kind of what I had planned for it was just chronicling this journey from going from a teacher to a photographer, and just giving any tips and insight that I may have along the way. And I hope you continue to join me. And until next time, be kind, spread love, and don't be afraid to step outside that box.